It's Wednesday afternoon, and you know what that means. Ringside Heat is on the air on News Talk Saga 960 AM, and as well on your favorite podcatcher and on YouTube on Fridays. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lex Tan, host and producer of this fine show, and we have an awesome episode of professional wrestling talk here for you on the radio airwaves, on the podcasting airwaves, as well as on the YouTube airwaves as well. So we are going to get into a bunch of stuff that happened this week, including, oh, you know what? I believe in Joe Hendry and his title win last Sunday. As you saw on our social media, I recorded a little reaction video to me doing a little commentary and reacting to in immense joy of Joe Hendry finally, after his third title opportunity against Nick Nemeth, finally taking the championship. And I am so excited to see what is going to be happening with him, and especially with this new partnership with WWE and TNA Wrestling, who is going to cross over. I mean, we're already seeing a lot of crossovers right now. Hey, you know, what was that? Cora Jade showed up on TNA Genesis as well. So that was a lot of fun to watch. There's a lot of things that are just going to be awesome going through, especially with WrestleMania season coming along. But WrestleMania, that's something that's actually kind of fun to think about, because I would say this is a little thesis that I have here. We would have no WrestleMania. We would have no WWE. We would have no AEW or any of this stuff if not for Toronto. That's right. I will say in, I guess, this opening statement over here, that Toronto is not just responsible, but also the birthplace of what we know today as professional wrestling, North American professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever your nomenclature is. Thank you, Cody Rhodes, for adding that to my vocabulary. Just like Joe Hendry added echelon to a lot of other people's vocabulary as well. So, and the reason why I say that is because of something that happened in 1963. But before that, let's go back to 1930. 1930, Jack Corcoran, John Tunney Sr., Frank Tunney, and a man named Toots Mond created the Queensberry Athletic Club, which is later known under the unofficial name of Maple Leaf Wrestling. And because of the way they promoted, they were able to have matches, wrestling matches, boxing matches over at the old Maple Leaf Gardens, which is still standing. For those of you who are not from Toronto, yes, Maple Leaf Gardens is still standing in a grocery store form on the ground floor, but then a 1,000-person ice hockey rink up on the top floor of the dome, what used to be the dome of Maple Leaf Gardens. So it's still there. All the history is still there, and even some of the memorabilia, the old brick walls, some of the chairs are still there. And I believe it's aisle 23. Correct me if I'm wrong. Aisle 23, where center ice of Maple Leaf Gardens used to be. Either way, that is a wrestling mecca, I would have to say, one of the wrestling meccas of North America that is still standing up to this day. At least classic wrestling meccas, if you could say that. So over the years, they were promoting matches every 2 weeks at Maple Leaf Gardens, and of course, some of the classic names from Maple Leaf Wrestling are somebody like Whipper Billy Watson, Pat Flanagan, and So let's see here. On my notes, we've got the office for Queensborough Athletic Club, Maple Leaf Wrestling, was moved across the street on Carlton Street. And on March the 16th, 1956, the first title change happened when Whipper Billy Watson defeated Lou Thez, ending Thez's near 7-year reign again here at Maple Leaf Gardens. And then Thez lost again the NWA World Championship in Maple Leaf Gardens, November 14th, 1957, to Dick Hutton. So, you know, we've got a lot of good wrestling history already here. So Frank Tunney in 1960 replaced Sam Molchnik at the NWA's helm as president, and he went on to serve as vice president to Vince McMahon Sr. eventually when he created the WWWF. But more importantly, though, WWE began right here in Toronto with a match on January the 24th, this coming Friday, 62 years ago in 1963, where it was a match between the then world champion, NWA world champion, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, and Lou Thesz. Lou Thesz defeated Buddy Rogers and was declared the champion, but it was that good old Northeast promoter, Vincent Jess McMahon, who refused to recognize the title change and withdrew his operation from the NWA and took Toots Mond along with him and created the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, now the WWE, on that day. Eventually, Buddy Rogers would be recognized as the first WWWF champion in April of 1963 in a kind of a kayfabe tournament that was never actually wrestled, but it was just told to the fans in attendance. Yeah, there was an event in Rio de Janeiro, a tournament, and Buddy Rogers won, so he is your WWWF champion. And of course, after that, the rest is history. The WWWF dropped one of the W's, the wide, and became the WWF. Vince Jr. bought the company from his father and created WrestleMania and created the WWE juggernaut as we knew it today. And of course, the McMahon family no longer owns any part of that company. And it is now, of course, TK under Endeavor. Yeah, the Endeavor Group, and as well, particularly the TKO division of Endeavor. So either way, all that happened. And the reason why I was able to go to a WrestleMania and the reason why many of you are wrestling fans today is, of course, because of the WWE, because of what Vince Jr. was able to do. But before that, if it was not for the Queensborough Athletic Club, if it was not for the title match between Buddy Rogers and Lou Thesz being opposed to by Vince Sr. and the creation of that promotion, of a new promotion breaking away from the NWA, we would not be sitting here talking wrestling with you here in one of the biggest wrestling markets in all of North America. And as a result, and I'll say this again, professional wrestling, North American professional wrestling, was birthed here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Be proud of that history, Toronto wrestling fans, because this is where it was. This is where it has started. This is where it started. This is where it all began. And, that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. I was thinking of that line. I didn't know how to end it, but I just wanted to say that because of Disturbed, as you saw on the Ringside Heat social media. Disturbed did release a new mix of Stone Cold's Glass Shatters, and it sounds awesome. I suggest you guys all take a listen to it, put it up on your Spotify, just like you would put up John Dawson's Outlier on Spotify, as well as this separate single, Under All the Lights, dedicated to Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes, and all great tunes over here. So make sure that you are subscribing to Ringside Heat. Make sure you pick up John Dawson's album. Make sure you follow and stream and even buy the album. It's great on 180 gram vinyl. John Dawson Music. .myshopify.com. We're going to go to break here, listening to a little bit of Under All the Lights. When we come back, Jose, director of digital content, and Chico, our wrestling memorabilia expert, will be joining the conversation. We're going to be talking about what happened this week in the world of professional wrestling. Back after these promotional considerations.
Under all the lights, with only everyone, he's looking for one single face.
And welcome back to Ringside Heat on News Talk Saga 960 AM. Lex Tan alongside you for this hour of professional wrestling, sports entertainment talk on the radio airwaves, on Spotify, and on YouTube. We have a three-man ring crew here, so let's introduce them. The other two who are going to be talking wrestling with me. First off, our director of digital content, Jose Tabuada. You can follow him at Tabuada93. And our wrestling memorabilia expert, Chico Nougat at Coco Collects. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hello. How art thou? Good stuff, Lex. Good stuff to open up the monologue. That's something that we haven't done in a long time, because I feel like we get so eager to ramble on. But I was a fan of the throwback. which is weird to say because the show's only 4 years old. But nice to go back to our little vintage ringside heat roots there, if you want to call it that. Yeah, I always feel like sometimes like that announcement of that news bit about Toronto, I feel like somebody's gonna say it's fake, and it's probably not. Like you're not saying that without merit. But no, it was good to kind of go back to those old ringside heat days of just let Lex blabber on, and he's got something important to say, and he did. So, Chico.
Well, I will say, yeah, I loved the links to pro wrestling and the WWE and how without the events from Maple Leaf Gardens in 1963, we may not have had pro wrestling in the same ways that we have it now, if not for that moment, and without the several promoters from the NWA defecting and joining Vincent Jess McMahon to open the WWWF. I will say, though, I know what you meant, but I think saying that North American pro wrestling
as we know it
started
today
in Toronto, I think, yeah. I mean, there you go. That as we know it today, as in what led to the WWE being the way it is, perhaps you could make that connection there. But yeah, I mean, like North America's had pro wrestling since what? Frank Gotch 1905 or something like that, or way before that, whatever. What do I know? So I mean, yeah, it's nice to hear those links. Plus, Maple Leaf Gardens was the first place I watched live pro wrestling, so that's kind of cool to have that connection with my own personal fandom history as well. So I mean, it was the Summer Sizzler tour of 1994. And in August,
geez, wow.
I went to see a main event. I think it was Bret Hart and Razor Ramon teaming up against Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Owen Hart.
Wow.
So it was a house show.
Wow.
And that's some vintage names right there.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I will obviously make you guys feel elderly because I've obviously never done a show at Maple Leaf Gardens. I never even did
Neither
a
have
Leafs
I.
game. I've never even did a Leafs game at Maple Leaf Gardens.
Neither have I, dude.
I figured Lex and I would be on that same wavelength there. And so I sometimes I always feel like I missed out on like such a big piece of history, and I think that's also kind of why I always I always hoped that there would be a show at the Rogers Center / Skydome for Colin once again, because I want to know what that feeling was like to watch a show there.
There will be, though.
And there will be. That's why that's where I was alluding to. So it's nice that I can at least missing out on Maple Leaf Gardens, at least for me, I'm going to be able to say very soon, okay, well, at least I can cross off the Rogers Center off my list. Wrong show, but at least I can say that that's pretty cool to do on March 1st, which will be a very exciting weekend for us here at Ringside Heat, and of course for the city of Toronto yet again.
Oh yeah,
I got a stuffy of the Money in the Bank suitcase from the Toronto Money in the Bank last year, so I'm hoping there's some sort of kitschy souvenir to take home from
there's bound to be there's bound to be, like, I'm sure if you play your cards right, Chico, you can cross over the barricade and unlink some of the chain from the chamber itself to take that with you. You only got a plushie of the Money in the Bank?
Yep. Like the briefcase, but the plushie version.
You of all people surprise me and disappoint me hearing that. The big collector that you are when it comes to action figures, you of all people should have what I have in my closet, which is the Money in the Bank briefcase. And before somebody says, why on earth is the Money in the Bank contract in your closet? Why is it not displayed? It was displayed in my room. I actually hung it up by the ceiling or by the vent here in my room. It was actually hanging up for a while. Actually, I took a bit of a risk for like a year and a half because the briefcase was hanging over where I put my head on my bed. So if it fell, it lands on my head. Wasn't smart.
What is this, a Warner Brothers cartoon?
But nice. Eventually, like, I painted my room and I added some shelves so there was no more space for the Money in the Bank briefcase, like an actual briefcase. Like I bought it at the 2018 Royal Rumble in Philadelphia. Like
nice.
During the triple threat at that Royal Rumble, Kane, Brock Lesnar, I think Braun Strowman, I went to the washroom, but then I got in line and I impulsively bought a Money in the Bank briefcase while I was drunk, mind you. So now I have like a life-size Money in the Bank. It's really cool. Chico, I can't believe you don't have one. Sorry, I rambled on there, but
yeah, no.
You of all people,
okay.
Chico, I need to see you with the Money in the Bank briefcase because it's just so fun to have. You have like
Yeah.
you have a bunch of like nephews and nieces, right? Imagine you give them like a little toy belt, and then you whip out the Money in the Bank briefcase and just like say not happening. I
Yeah,
would pay
man.
money to see it. I pay
My,
money to see
my
it.
fandom is quite spread out in terms of memorabilia. So I mean, I guess I'll take what I can get at that time.
That's what I'm
And it
saying.
was just stuffy.
No, the stuff is good, but I hope one day you can have what I have and like just have an actual briefcase. Mine's the blue one, but just have an actual briefcase and then display it somewhere just to say you have it.
Right.
See, I also have a Money in the Bank stuffy briefcase. And the reason why I got that instead of the actual briefcase itself is because the briefcase was $160. The plushie was 30. So I'm just like, yeah, let's do that.
Ditto.
What did I pay for mine? I think it was
Gotta be like 100 American at least.
I think it was under 100 American USD. Yeah.
Under 100. Wow,
I
that's
think
actually
so, or
pretty
if
good.
not 100.
Yeah.
But after the conversion, I think it probably was 120 to 130 Canadian, and I don't regret any of those pennies that I lost that night. Don't regret any of them. It was fun.
Well, full disclosure, as we're recording this, there's a loop on Netflix of slow motion footage of Roxanne Perez career highlights, and I mean, that got me thinking. A lot of things happened between NXT and other things in pro wrestling this week, eh?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Busy
Before,
week.
but and just to with the slow motion highlights, one of the things that they do is they actually do that slow motion of the Canadian Destroyer or whatever she calls
That's
it.
the one, Pop Rocks.
Yeah, the Pop Rocks, that's what it is. And it's and I'm looking at it, I'm just like, man, that is actually a safer move. Oddly enough, a safer move than a regular pile driver.
Yep, that's probably why they don't call it out when Penta does it. The Mexican Destroyer. They love saying that on Mondays now.
Oh yeah, and what's that? Pat McAfee even said back in Money in the Bank weekend, when somebody did a Canadian Destroyer, he actually said, "This country's destroyer."
Yes, he did say that. Shout out Pat McAfee.
Oh yeah.
And what a great second week for Penta. Once again, 2-0, but once again,
Yes.
back-to-back weeks of just he's got it. I did want to discuss with you guys if there was a topic to start on. And I had a friend of mine. He was saying, "Oh well, it looks like he's gonna be buried in the mid card forever because of how crowded the top card is." And I told him, I'm like, listen, you have to you can't forget that in the Attitude Era, the mid card thrived, and it was okay that they never elevated to the top because they entertained the heck out of us as well.
Oh
when
yeah.
you didn't do top card stuff. So I think that's a fun question to ask you guys, in a sense of like, let's hypothetically say, let's say Penta's plateau is the mid card, but with how he's been performing, just even if it's just after 2 weeks, is that a bad thing or a good thing?
I am anytime that you can actually get the crowd to their feet and give them a complete show. A complete show from the from the opening match to the mid card to the main event. If you can give them a complete show where people are entertained, there are good highs and there are good lows and everything within the actual show, but while keeping the attention and the excitement of having your major leagues of professional wrestling in town, I think that's always a good thing. And if that's his place, that's his place. I mean, look what Santino Marella did with the time that he had. He was never going to be a main eventer, obviously. He was never going to win that world championship.
He nearly was a main eventer at that Royal Rumble.
Well, yeah, exactly. But and look at our truth as well too. Look where he lives. Look where he lives. He's made a career out of being a great mid-card talent. And not to mention, he's just one of the most entertaining comedic wrestlers of all time, personally speaking. So again, anytime you can get a good balanced card out for your viewing audience in the arena and on TV is a great thing. And if Penta is good in the mid card and he stays there, that's okay, because I know I have something to look forward to within the 9:30, the 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock hour.
Yeah. Yep. And again, I can't emphasize enough that not that I don't want to see Penta go farther. I think I mean, the ceiling's high for Penta, and again, it looks like he is where he belongs. I don't think anybody can deny that. But in the situation where, let's say, that doesn't happen, I don't want people to think that it would be quote unquote considered a failure, which happens with a lot of mid carders. Is if they don't get pushed or if they don't go further, all of a sudden it's not a good tenure, it's not a good run, which kind of a bit harsh and unfair and or
Mhm.
wasted. I don't want that assumption, and I think there's a lot of maybe mid card talents where that maybe that wasn't the case. It happens, but I feel like it would be an unfair assessment if you have somebody like a Penta that does hypothetically stay in the main card, mid card. Chico, you were gonna
Yeah, no,
comment.
I agree with both of you on that. In the 2 weeks that Penta has appeared, I already care more about him than in the entire time he was in AEW. I mean, no offense, but I mean, just the presentation. I mean, we all talk about it once in a while, on and off the air. I think that WWE in the last 2 weeks has been schooling AEW on how to promote a new talent, or how to give them some importance. And just like Lex was alluding to, balancing the card. Because, I mean, Penta himself was presented fantastically the past 2 weeks. Uh, I couldn't think of a better debut couple of weeks for that guy.
No.
He
Mhm,
got to
mhm.
talk even, and he hardly ever nothing memorable from AEW to me, like in terms of a promo from him. And already in the last week or two, there's a couple of nuggets in there where I'm like, yeah, this guy's gonna be something. I mean, also, I mean, it's rare that the masked luchadors get all the way to the top, but Rey Mysterio did it. That's the exception. Um, but I think again, a strong mid card, just like Lex was saying, is also important. So Penta's there, and I think he's gonna be there for a long, long time. It sounds like. So I'm eager for his brother Ray Phoenix to eventually clear up and finish up his time on his contract, and then hopefully join his brother in WWE, and then it even adds more to the possibilities of that strong mid card. So it's a good time to be a WWE fan in particular right now, let alone a fan of pro wrestling with all the crossing over stuff.
Mhm. And something that was actually brought up that Steve Piccone actually heard about. There's a rumor that WWE 2K25, again, this is just a rumor, 2K25 might include intergender matches as part of the as part of the video game offering, which would be kind of fun because you can actually have Penta or Pentagon versus Chelsea Green, and I can't remember what her name was when she
Reclusa,
was. That's it, Reclusa. Yeah, you
Lucha
can have.
Underground.
There you go, Lucha Underground. You can have that match between Penta and Reclusa, and hey, you know what? You don't need to hack the game on PC or anything like that. It's right there. It could be right there if that is true.
Yeah, but Pentagon Dark can go against the entire Black Lotus triad from the Lucha Underground, because then Io Shirai, or whatever what she was known as when she was Black Lotus, and Kairi Sane, I think, were the other two. But they're in WWE now too. So I mean, that'd be kind of interesting, especially for those deep cuts for Lucha Underground fans. That used to be on Netflix too, to be honest, years ago though. It
Mhm.
hasn't been on there for a while. I wonder if they'll loop that into the tape library at some point with WWE. I doubt it because I mean that was kind of minor leagues. So, but yeah, nice, another link to history, man.
That would be
Yeah.
interesting. I don't. How do boy intergender? I mean, obviously, I remember playing Day of Reckoning 2, SmackDown versus Raw, WrestleMania
Mhm.
19 on the GameCube, and
Right.
yes, those options were there, and
The
and
64 games too had
you're
that.
right.
You
It's
could, you could do that.
I think from I think from what I'm reading here, it's from the last time you had that option was SmackDown versus Raw 2009, since you were able to
Uh-huh.
do something of the sorts. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I know. And for what it's worth, I do want to kind of acknowledge and understand why people would be kind of against it or kind of wanted to see that. That kind of entertainment, I guess, because it may accidentally promote the wrong image. But I think ironically, and I feel like this is also important to note, they are professionals and they do know what they're doing. Like I don't
Oh
think
yeah.
Penta and Io and Chelsea Green have the kind of matches that they did in Lucha Underground if they didn't know what they were doing and if they know how to approach it in a safe manner while also kind of like delivering that intensity, I guess.
Mhm.
So if and again, it's a I don't want to simply, I don't want to simply say it's just a video game, but I think people would have to understand that yes, I think they are professionals at the end of the day, and then if something like this were to ever happen in real life, at least in a more like kind of like on a Lucha Underground situation, it would be under a complete controlled and respectable environment. But if it's in a video game, I guess I don't know. I never really thought of it, even when I was younger, to do something like that, or to have those kind of matches. I don't know. I just understand. I just would just understand why people would be kind of like maybe a little bit unsettled at the idea of it.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, this may be a generalization. Uh, not not gonna sugarcoat that about what I'm going to say, but again, I could be just making a generalization over here, but it's a lot of it could be people who aren't as, I guess, versed in the genre of professional wrestling as we are, that might have more of the reservations toward it, because especially on the indies right now, especially in the indies, you get the occasional male versus female matches depending on what story that they're trying to tell, and some of them are actually like I've been to I've been to shows where I've actually called a male and female match there, and it was very very well done, very professional. The story was told properly. One of those examples that I remember coming across, I guess during the pandemic a few years ago, was Tessa Blanchard versus Prince Puma Ricochet, and she was able to make Ricochet really entertaining outside of his actual wrestling, just like she actually got him to do character work, which you didn't see a lot of in WWE, and we're trying to get in AEW and everything, but there are examples of that in the independent wrestling scene right now, that or even 4 years ago, that that they're able to really put each other over very well without this stigma of, oh yeah, man versus woman, and all that sort of stuff. And it works out. It really and it works out, especially with two professionals as good as Tessa Blanchard and Ricochet are.
Yeah, if it makes sense, it makes sense, man. Even if it's man versus woman. Yeah, like you're never gonna see something like a Brock Lesnar versus Alexa Bliss. Come on, man, that just wouldn't make sense. But
Yeah.
I mean, if it can make sense and it's a little closer to even Stevens, come on. I mean, it'll be all right. But anyways, that we're way off base here, man. What's happened this week?
Yeah, well, I mean,
So many things.
I mean, that's something that we could get into in the next segment of Ringside Heat here. And it's something that we didn't get a chance to talk about that happened last week. One of the biggest news stories to actually come out of the professional wrestling world, and has probably a really big impact on what we are going to be watching over the next few months, over the next few years, on TV, on Netflix, etc. So we will reset. We will go to break, and we will be back with myself, Lex, with Jose, and with Chico here on Ringside Heat on News Talk Saga 960 AM. Back after these promotional considerations.
Under all the lights, with only everyone, he's looking for one single face.
And welcome back to Ringside Heat on News Talk Saga 960 AM. Lextan at Lextan Media. Ringside Heat at Ringside_Heat on all social media platforms. Jose Tabuada at Tabuada93. Chico at Coco Collects. And big announcement that we didn't get a chance to talk about until this week because of our airtime and the timing of the big announcement. The multi-year partnership of WWE and TNA Wrestling announced just this past week, before in the days before and leading up to TNA Genesis, and that is a big partnership. That was a big announcement by two of the major wrestling promotions, the major wrestling promotion, and what people would consider maybe even now, or or considered to be the third place wrestling promotion for many years. But who knows? Now this partnership with WWE might raise them up to number 2. Who knows what's going on as well? Ooh, and that might anger some of the AEW fans listening to us right now over here. So if you have anything to say to me, say it to me. Say it to me on social media at Lextan Media. But guys, huge announcement here for WWE and TNA.
It felt like it was already been happening for the last few years already.
True.
And it has.
We have had the small surprise TNA Rumble appearances in the last few years.
Say his name and he appears on NXT.
Yeah, that as well. I mean, yeah, Joe Hendry's NXT appearance. Congrats to him, by the way, for finally getting the job done with the TNA World Championship.
Yes, I believe
it's. I'm happy that this is solidified. I don't know if they'll go to a quote unquote number 2, which again I can't believe I'm saying that when it comes to AEW, but I don't want to say that anybody's in trouble because of this partnership. This is just great for wrestling as a whole. I don't think there should be any kind of quote unquote competition. This is just an example of like, hey, if 2 brands can come together and make something work to benefit both sides, and 100%. And it's already in full effect. I think we had we had the Hardy Boys teasing a run at the NXT Tag Team Champions. Obviously, this is going to be strictly a it's strictly going to be an NXT TNA partnership, which I think that's a good spot for TNA. I don't think we need to cross over with the main roster for now.
Hold on. In part of the wording, there's opening for certain main roster events and PLEs even. So I think we may see some of it at the Rumble.
I'm 100. Yeah. If anything, I think this maybe benefits the women's Rumble more, like last year. I think we're gonna see more of those female names cross over into the Rumble, in a couple weeks. But no, this is just special, and this is just so great. Again, TNA has definitely. I'm happy with the relationship that they have with WWE now compared to the mid 2000s, the whole competition thing. But this is so good for them, and obviously, I think it's safe to say that TNA obviously is the bigger winner out of this because they get more expansion. They leech on to WWE's exposure. So great for them.
Latch.
Latch, whatever you want to say it. And I mean, again, like look, Fraxium is defending the NXT Tag Team Championship on TNA Impact this Thursday, which is great. And by the way, for Canadians, you can watch TNA Impact now on Sportsnet 360 since Sportsnet 360 lost the WWE rights to Netflix. TNA Impact who took over that spot. So for Canada, you will have an easy access to watch TNA content and mixing with some WWE stuff. But I'm excited, and if Jordan Grace's prediction of an Ultimate X match at WrestleMania is a thing, I am for it. Guys, I rambled on. Go, take it away.
I think this is just a continuation of an already running partnership, like Jose was saying. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In fact, why not build upon it? So we've already seen immediate dividends paid at TNA Genesis. There was about 3 surprise appearances from NXT talent. Cora Jade faced off against Masha Slamovich. Fraxium sat down for the TNA Tag Team Championship match between, I think it was the Hardy Boys, and then I can't remember who the other team was. I think it was I'm almost there. The Rascals.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So Rascals and Hardy Boys, which, by the way, 2 great teams to pit against each other.
Yeah, great match between those guys, by the way.
Yeah, man, it was very good. Plus, it's another one of those where the Rascals get to face like a team that they idolized growing up as fans. So that was really cool to watch. Very special. Also amazing that the Hardy Boys get to use their theme song from their WWF days.
Well, it's not owned by the WWF. They actually licensed it from the guy who actually created the song.
That's Tempest, right?
Yes, Zach Tempest.
Tempest or something.
Yeah, and one thing I would say about that match between the Rascals and the Hardys, that was a one of those tag team matches where you can have high spots, but it doesn't turn out into spot monkey fest basically.
Yeah. It was very well balanced. Plus, the Hardys really shouldn't be flying high all the time now. So, yeah.
The fact that Jeff Hardy can still hit a swanton is like insane to me. Also very dangerous at his age, but still.
The fact that Jeff Hardy has come out to say that he wants to take on Roman Reigns and CM Punk is a whole other thing on its own. But I don't.
Wow, no.
Yeah.
Jeff, just take your wins where you can. I'm so sorry, Jeff. But we love you. Please don't do that. Yeah, no, and there was at least one other appearance. Oh, Ariana Grace came on the entrance ramp and announced how she's the liaison between NXT and TNA. Ashanti the Adonis appeared on Genesis as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a nice mutually beneficial partnership. This isn't some one-way partnership. Sorry to say, but the AEW TNA partnership before turned out just mainly to be for AEW, to be honest with you. TNA didn't get anything out of it. And now we've already seen TNA and NXT both get something out of this partnership. So kudos to the two companies for officializing it and continuing something that's been working beautifully and will continue to, because both sides get exposure on each other's brands. Good for both sides, and we'll see where it goes.
And one thing that's actually, as you mentioned, Jose, with Sportsnet 360 getting the rights to TNA wrestling television, the television rights to that, it's actually going to be their first live show in how many years now? 8 years?
8, I think. Yeah.
Live
That's
TNA
right.
wrestling.
This Thursday,
TNA
right?
Impact. Yeah.
Yep.
This tomorrow. Yeah. Tomorrow for those of you listening on Wednesday. And so that's going to be that's going to be big, because we have the new TNA champion Joe Hendry. I'm pretty sure that he's going to be making an appearance over there, and possibly making an appearance in. Well, I would love to see it if Joe Hendry enters the Royal Rumble as the TNA World Champion.
My only worry with that, and I hate that this is a thing, but people have noticed that he's apparently making appearances. He's going to make an appearance on the Jericho Cruise, which is happening Royal Rumble weekend.
Oh, that's
Okay.
right.
Which,
It's not.
yeah,
Never mind then.
well,
They could be pulled off of that.
I think I've heard. Again, this could be completely wrong. I have no confirmation on this, but I think I've heard people on social media say that they've once flew people out via helicopter from the boat, or I'm sure if there's a port that they're going to get to, that they can just fly them out there to Indianapolis. I don't know. But I mean, obviously, part of me hopes that maybe just cancel the appearance altogether, Joe, because there's a much bigger platform waiting for you that everybody's been dying to see you on. Even before you won the world title in TNA, and so I think it was when he made his appearance at NXT. I think one of the first things that everybody said was, "See you in Indianapolis in February," because everybody's just so eager to see him in the Rumble. I want to see him in the Rumble. Be fantastic. Which, by the way, folks, if you notice, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see now that our graphics on the left-hand side has been updated to promote the Royal Rumble watch along February 1st, 5:45 Eastern and 2:45 Pacific, where Lex and Colin will tag team and react to the 2025 edition of the Royal Rumble, live from Lucas Oil Stadium. But yeah, Joe Hendry, get off the boat, please. Don't get on the boat. Don't get on the boat. Just step away from the boat.
Yeah, I got 3 words for Joe Hendry: Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah. Yep, that's exactly. And so we have TNA Impact Live, their first live episode in years. Sportsnet 360, 8:00 Eastern time. But we also have this weekend, Saturday night's main event that's going to be happening. And so one thing that you wanted to bring up, Chico, was KO, Kevin Owens, good Canadian boy, holding that beautiful Reggie Parks Winged Eagle title every time he appears on WWE television right now. And and it's and him being a linchpin for a lot of different storylines that are going on in WWE right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but I just wanted to kind of quickly say that Kevin Owens lately, if you guys have noticed, has been getting in the ear of not just one person, but a couple others. So, of course, he's in a heated program with Cody, which, part of me still wants KO to get out of there with the WWE Championship. Part of me, now with some things in flux, I mean, seeing it as more of a possibility, well, it made it even more intriguing and kind of up in the air, in my opinion, is the way he dealt with Sami Zayn interrupting his promo on Monday Night Raw this past Monday, and how, the easy thing to do, well, I mean, it isn't easy to sell anything. You got to be really good at it. But the easy thing to do would be just to interrupt his old friend Sammy and start another program with him. But we've also seen that a ton of times already. They've spent 20 years fighting each other. Of course, I think they were the ones that almost the phrase "fight forever" started with the two of them. I feel like, and I just like that it ended off where instead KO is kind of playing some mind games and saying, "Well, you know what? I understand why you forgave Roman Reigns. In fact, you forgave me, and I know that if you win the Royal Rumble, we can do something that we have never done before, is to main event WrestleMania against each other, provided I win the WWE Championship against Cody Rhodes, and and I know that being my best friend and my brother, you'll have my back." And then he just walks away. So he's playing with Sammy's mind, and I love it. And that links up with other things too. So there's things that are in flux, and I love that there's so much unpredictability with even the Royal Rumble.
Boy, you're all gonna be disappointed when Cody walks out as champ. You're all going to be disappointed. And mind you,
I don't know if I'll even be disappointed, but I mean, it's just, I love the intrigue.
I've said this. I think Cody's been a great champion. I think he's been getting too much flack because I think booking has been the worst case scenario with Cody's reign. But oh man, like Chico said, there's a part of me that also I think it'd be an interesting pivot to have Cody step away from the title, maybe think of a different program, especially if like The Rock may not be involved anymore, and where it goes from there. But I will save my Rumble prediction for next week because I have because I do have a prediction that I think seals Cody's win.
That's something that I would love to be able to hear about for next week's episode, and I'm sure that you would love to be able to hear about for next week's episode of Ringside Heat on News Talk Saga 960. We did talk about a little bit about TNA having their TNA Impact Live on Thursday. Saturday night's main event is coming Saturday, but just to go with the announced matches for AEW Dynamite from Knoxville Coliseum in Knoxville, Tennessee, that is going to we have the Rated R superstar Cope, yeah, that's his name, Cope, versus the AEW, one of the AEW trio champions, Pac. We've also got Julia Hart versus Jamie Hayter, their second match, and I'm glad that Jamie Hayter's back in the mix here, and those two I think are going to throw down real well. We're going to have Will Ospreay, Mr. Echelon himself, and Kenny Omega going face to face again. I guess they're going to do a promo, maybe. Private Party versus the Hurt Syndicate for the AEW World Tag Team Championship, and we've also got Samoa Joe going up against Nick Wayne as well. So those are the 5 matches, the 5 segments at least that have been announced for AEW Dynamite, which is airing tonight on TSN. So check your local listings as to when that's going to be. Yeah. Fun show here today just going around and just figuring out what's going on with all the craziness of the wrestling world. Just I guess finding finding a lot of great things to look forward to, especially this week, because hey, you're a wrestling fan. Who doesn't love who doesn't love all the things that are going on? Well, sorry, let me rephrase that. Who doesn't love how strong and how healthy this business is right now? I'm happy about it.
Great time to be a fan, man. Great time to be a fan. Let me just summarize that.
Basically, exactly. Any final thoughts from you guys before we sign off?
Enjoy Saturday night's main event. Please tune in next week because the Royal Rumble is one of our favorite events of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the Rumble, but I mean, I'm also kind of excited to see what they do on NBC. I wonder if they're going to trot out any surprise appearances. I wonder if, since Saturday night's main event has such a strong 80s link, are they going to dare try to trot out a controversial Real American again?
They're doing it. They're doing it.
You think
it's
so?
Happening. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's going to happen. That's my prediction. That next week, before we talk about the Rumble, we're going to sit here, look at the camera, and just laugh. That is my prediction. We're gonna
Oh, brother.
in the words of one of my favorite childhood movies, George of the Jungle. Now's the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready? Ready, and then we just laugh from there. So
Watch out for that tree, though.
I love that line as a kid. It makes me laugh so hard. Anyways,
I totally forgot that line.
I have it as a GIF in my phone because I like to use it every now and then. It's fantastic.
And I guess the last thought I have about Saturday night's main event is I love the 80s throwback music that they put on every time they advertise it now.
So
Oh
good.
yeah,
so good.
Obsession, aka the fashion television
Or
theme
just
song. For...
all the other theme music stuff too, though.
Mhm.
Like all the little whatever bumper music that they use.
Yeah. Speaking of yeah. Here's the card. Well, okay, fine. The Tongans aren't going to be on the card so far as announced, but there's
Yes, they are. One of them is.
Okay, fine.
Jacob Fatu is gonna face Braun Strowman, dude.
I mean the Tongans, not.
He'll be there though.
Yeah, that's true. Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman, Intercontinental Championship match, Sheamus versus Braun Breaker, World Heavyweight Championship match, Jey Uso versus Gunther, and of course, and of course, Shawn Michaels oversees the Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens contract signing.
Nothing ever goes wrong with a contract signing.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, it's just gonna be fun this week. This is
Chico. I don't know about you, but I had that Saturday night jingle playing in my head as Lex read that off the whole time. The whole time it was in my head. I had it the whole time. Like, go off, Lex. Keep talking.
Yeah.
Let it play in my head. But yes,
I'm sorry.
Keep talking.
I hummed over you, Jose. My bad. It's so in there.
Saturday night's main event, San Antonio, Texas, live nationwide. Saturday, January the 25th. Start time at 6:30 p.m. on your check your
Wait, 6:30 p.m. Really?
6:30 p.m. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
6:30 p.m. Central.
Eastern?
Sorry, 6:30 Central. That's what it says on the
So
graph.
7:30 Eastern. Okay. All right. That's a little more reasonable.
Saturday night, yes. Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for whatever reason, and there's and then there's like I guess there's a pre-show start time of 6:30 p.m. Central. But like, yeah, that's
okay. Maybe pre-show and then 8 p.m. Eastern start time. That sounds like what you're saying. But anyways, as if they need our advertising to tune into NBC.
That's true. Anyway, it is time to sign off here. We've run out of time on the air, so this leaves me to thank Jose Tabuada let me try it again. Jose Tabuada at Tabuada93, Chico Nougat at Coco Collects, myself at Lex10 Media, and all of you listening on YouTube, listening on Spotify, and all of you listening on the radio right now. Follow us at Ringside_Heat on all of our social media platforms, and make sure that you tune in next week for our Royal Rumble predictions and our watch along on February the 1st. This is Ringside Heat. We remember the things you probably forgot.